Welcome back, everybody. Last week, I made the announcement that I'm going to bring back photo assignments. Since everybody's kind of under lockdown right now, I thought this would be an excellent project to do right now. So in this video, we're going to talk about what you're going to need to do to prepare for that, what you're going to need to have ready, how they're going to kind of work, all of that stuff. Hopefully, most of you are at home, and if you're not at home, maybe this is something to inspire you to be at home. So we're going to get into that in this video, but first I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor today, who are the awesome folks over at Skillshare.com. So it's a whole new year, and it's time to explore new skills and get lost in creativity. Well, Skillshare's online courses are here for you. What you find might just surprise and inspire you. Skillshare is an online learning community that offers membership with meaning. With so much to explore, real projects to create, and the support of fellow creatives, Skillshare empowers you to accomplish real growth. Skillshare offers classes designed for real life so that you can move your creative journey forward without putting your life on hold. You can learn and grow with short classes that fit your busy routine. Whether it's video, photography, or any other creative field, Skillshare have classes for everyone. One class that I would strongly recommend to you is Photography Essentials Understanding the Basics by Sean Dalton, who is a travel and lifestyle photographer. I actually really love this class because it is a really nice overview of just the basic elements of photography. A lot of the things that I've moved beyond with photo assignments, so this is stuff that I'm not really going to cover in my series. And I think this is a really good starting point. What I really love about it is that he actually takes you into social media and beyond just the basics. So this isn't a dated class, it's actually very relevant. Skillshare is also incredibly affordable, especially when compared to pricey in-person classes and workshops. An annual subscription is less than $10 a month. So if you want to take this class or any of the others on Skillshare, the first 500 people to use the link in the description will get 2 months of Skillshare for free. Go get inspired, and I want to give a special shout out and thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring this episode of The Art of Photography. So, photo assignments. I want to talk about what photo assignments are. I know that we have people that are newer to the channel since the last time that we did these, so I want to talk a little bit about what they are in context, what you can expect to get out of these. So, photo assignments, essentially, I will make a video with an assignment, and usually there's some kind of objective involved, a style of photography, something that we are setting out to do. And then what we do is we take like 2 weeks, and that gives you ample time to start putting this into practice and shoot your own images. And so I think this is a really good way to learn. We had a lot of fun with it when we did it before. You're going to be able to improve your skill set as a photographer, but more importantly, the way that you see the world, your creative sensibilities, what you're able to do with the camera. And I think that that is the ultimate reward in all this, and that is certainly my goal. Real quick, I want to say what photo assignments are not. So they are not a popularity contest or some kind of PR move. They are for everybody to learn. It's not a chance to show off. And so I've had problems with this in the past when I've showcased images, and it was pretty clear people had just like pulled old images that kind of fit the assignment. I want everybody to work together on these and treat them as if they are new. I think that's what makes them exciting. The other thing is this is not like a contest. There's no prizes involved or anything. This is literally for you and for you to get better with. I did also get more than a few emails with people asking what about landscapes in the context. So right now we're kind of under this global pandemic. Well, not kind of, we are. And everybody is supposed to be home right now. And so I had questions saying, well, if you went out to a remote location to shoot a landscape, as long as there are not people around, would that work? And I'm going to put the kibosh on that because there is no way I can, with a clean conscience, recommend that anybody go out. That is not the order right now. And hopefully this will give us something to do around the house. I think that provides a particularly unique challenge. It makes things a little bit more difficult. So I'm just going to say no to the landscape idea. So stop asking. I've gotten a lot of people asking about that. We're going to do things that are pretty much in the structure of your own home. And these are all concepts that you will be able to apply once we're out of this weird time into other aspects of photography. They're things that you're going to learn right now by studying, and then you'll be able to expand on that further. So let's talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing with photo assignments. So a lot of these are going to be more fundamental in nature. So we're going to talk about things like composition, how to apply that. We're going to talk about lighting. We're going to talk about how to use natural light, window light, available light, of whatever we have is available, all of the common structural elements of photography. But you guys know me, we're actually going to take it a little bit beyond that. And as I said a minute ago, I think the whole idea is to understand things from a conceptual, structural level, and then these can be applied to anything later on down the line. I've also had questions concerning what equipment do you need for this. Now, you don't need a lot. Really, I'm structuring this to whatever you have available. I think that's really important right now. So if you have a proper digital camera, DSLR or mirrorless or something like that, and you have something you can put into manual control, that's great. If you want to shoot film, sure, that's great too. And if you don't have either one of those things, just shoot with your phone. In fact, I'm going to make part of the challenge in photo assignments to shake it up a little bit and shoot on different cameras, because the point behind this is something that I've been a stickler about for a long time, is that as a photographer, if you're going to create meaningful work that's any good, that's interesting, you're going to need to learn how to transcend the equipment a little bit. Now, I understand that there's specific equipment. If you're going to shoot macro, you need a macro lens, for instance, but I really don't want to make it down that specific. I want it to be basically for everyone. So if we do a macro assignment and not everybody has a macro lens, well, how do we compensate? So I'm going to keep this very general. If you are shooting on a phone, the one thing I would suggest, and I will probably do a video covering this, is that you are able to access a mode where you can at least control exposure. So we call it exposure compensation, where you can either dial it back and underexpose, or you can overexpose. And I'll do a video outlining how one would do that on a phone for those who are interested. And so anyway, that's kind of one thing, that you should use something where you at least have some kind of control over the ultimate output. Another concept that I want to talk about that I think is extremely important is thinking about your spaces of where you're working at home. Now, this may sound silly. I'm used to working at home, so it's not a big deal for me, but I know a lot of people aren't. I have friends and colleagues that I've talked to that are having to make that adjustment. Now, these are just photo assignments, so you can get as intense as you want about these. You can be very casual, or you can be very serious about it. But think about spaces where you could set up and do some studio type shooting. If you're like me and you're a little bit on the messy side, right now might be a good time to start clearing out some spaces, including your desk area where you might be editing and collecting images. I'm just saying this because for some people, working at home is a new idea, and so it's something to start thinking about, so definitely consider it. Now, in covering a broad range of subject matter and what we're going to be doing, it'll be the usual stuff, people, places, and things, but I think working at home provides another challenge with all of these things. So let's say maybe you live at home, and so shooting people is going to be a little bit more difficult. You might have to end up doing self-portraits. Things is a tough one. Locations, obviously, you're going to be stuck to one location, and so how can you change that visually? And we're going to get into this as we go. There is a unique problem here, and it's something that I've always struggled with, and I believe firmly that familiarity is harder to photograph. And so, in other words, like when I've had people come visit me here in Fort Worth, there's always stuff that they want to go shoot that I never even really think of, because for me, it's harder. I'm in a context that I see all the time, and so it's in my mind, and I don't really particularly think of it as interesting or unique. It's much easier for me to go to a place like New York City or Los Angeles or Arizona or wherever that is, and then I just have more creative freedom because it's all new. So what we're going to have to do is take things that aren't new and learn how to see them as new. So that's going to be an important fundamental concept of what we'll be dealing with as we move forward. Another concept that I want you guys to start thinking about is this whole idea of documentation. So step back a little bit and think about this. We're in a historical period right now that is completely unprecedented. It's never happened before. It's something that will be looked back on. So how are we documenting what's going on? Now, documentation and art can be two separate things. I would argue, though, that documentation can be art, but art isn't necessarily documentation. Anyway, I don't want to get confusing just yet, but I do want you guys to start thinking about documenting. Now, this doesn't have to be large scale. I was talking to a friend the other day who said, oh man, I would love to be able to like fly to Los Angeles or New York right now and shoot Times Square with nobody in it, because that's something you'll never see again. Well, there's a couple problems with that. First of all, I can guarantee you 20 or 30 people have already done it. Second of all, I don't think it's a really good idea to risk things by going out. And thirdly, I think it's also important to document your own life and what you're doing right now. And there's a personal nature to that I think is really important. It's something that you're going to want to be able to look back on. And it's also, when you think of documentation, like, in the context of art, let's say we set something up and we have this final piece. This is the work that is finished, and it's like one photograph, let's say, or maybe it's a series or something. Well, documentation takes on a whole different life. And we're going to talk about this specifically in one of the assignments, but it's something that if you look at something out of context, it doesn't make as much sense. But when you start putting this together, there is a story that arches over the top. And I think that's what really gets powerful. So start thinking about your work in terms of documenting where we are now, what you're doing, who you are, and I think that's going to give a real sense of identity as we move forward with a lot of these too. So we're going to be starting this week. I'll have the first photo assignment up probably either Thursday or Friday. I'm not real sure which one yet. I'm just working on the video and the idea and getting everything ready for you guys. That does take a little bit of time. But the way we're going to do this is I will roll the instruction video. For some reason, you're watching this video in the future, and I already have them out. I will link a playlist in the description below the video, so you can click on that and you can actually see all the photo assignments. So I will keep them organized that way. The way I'm going to do it, though, is we are going to do the assignment video, and then I'm going to do some supplemental videos that are a little more documentational in nature of how I'm working on these with you guys. I am not real sure about the whole concept of how live video might work into here yet. I've had a few people remind me different time zones, and it's really hard sometimes for people to stay up in the middle of the night to catch something, so I'm totally respectful of that. I just think it would be interesting to be able to do something in a format where people could ask questions, so I'm still working on that piece, but I will do some other videos kind of talking about how I'm addressing the specific assignment with what I'm doing here. So watch for those later this week. If you have any questions, drop them below. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Until then, later.